When you're on the road, you're at your most vulnerable. Anything can happen and leave you stranded or worse. Are you prepared to handle trouble on the road? Hey guys, it's Jera with Wicked Prepared. Welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm diving into the top 10 items that everyone should have in their vehicle to be prepared for emergencies no matter what comes up. Usually, this is everyday situations. You get a flat tire, you have car trouble, run out of gas, get lost, maybe you break down on the side of the road. But sometimes it's something more serious. We've all seen the stories. Take a wrong turn down a deserted road and end up stranded and cut off from the world. Even on a busy highway, unexpected weather or other events can leave people stranded in their vehicles for hours or even days. Having these basics in your vehicle can help you handle those little everyday emergencies and save the day if something more serious happens. Let's dive into these top 10 items right now. All right, I am going to start with the basics, and that is water. You want to make sure that you have water stored in your car because that is going to be one of the most important things if you're stranded for any amount of time. The Red Cross recommends having a gallon per person. So if you have 5 people who typically ride in your car, that's 5 gallons of water. That's a lot of water. So honestly, if you can't fit that much water in your car, there are some other options. You can include things like water straws, water straw filters, and water purification tabs so that you could treat additional water. But I would say these are definitely not a substitute for having water in your car. You need some water. But if you aren't able to keep and store as much water as you feel like you should in your car, this could be a good backup. So these water straws are about the size of a Sharpie, and they can purify about a year's worth of water just drinking right out of it. And of course, water purification tablets, another option. For both of these, you're probably going to want a container to put the water in. Although with the straw, you could drink directly out of a water source like a stream or a puddle or a pond. But if you're in your car, there would have to be water nearby for you to purify. So best to store as much as you can. What I actually prefer to do for my car is I like to keep a case of water like this in my car at all times because this is something that we would typically use anyway. So if one of the kids forgot a water bottle, or if, they're at the ball field with their friends and their friends need water, if I forget my water, or if my water bottle just gets empty and I need a refill, lots of different reasons that we would use these bottles. And so these are going to get rotated. So they're not going to be just sitting in the car in their plastic bottles for years and years until they start to leak. So I keep a case like this. When it starts to get low, I replace it with another case. So that's kind of how I prefer to do the water in my car. So that's what I prefer to do, but whatever works for you is what you should do. Some people prefer to get glass bottles because they are going to be stored in a car for a while and they might be subjected to heat. So instead of having plastic that's going to leach into the water possibly, some people will go out of their way and spend a little bit extra to find glass bottles. Next, you're going to need some food, and you're going to want shelf-stable food and food that doesn't need to be cooked or heated. And you're going to want food that can withstand and sustain extreme temperatures, because inside your car, it might get very cold or very hot. So you're going to want food that can stand up to that. So I keep things like granola bars and protein bars. Things like nuts are a good snack that's going to give you a lot of calories and energy. I've got some cracker packs over here on the side. I have got some honey packets and some peanut butter packets. Underneath here, I have got some meat sticks. And down here, you could also use some lifeboat rations. Now, these are not going to be the tastiest option, but they are going to provide a really concentrated source of calories. They are absolutely meant to withstand extreme temperatures and extreme conditions. And they've got about a 5-year shelf life. So and they're sealed up really tight and, really, really nicely. So this is something that would be a good option to keep in your car just for those dire emergencies where you really, really needed to get some nourishment and some calories. You can see this has 9 servings with the 410 calories per serving. So there's quite a lot of calories in this little pack. And then I've also got some water flavoring packs in here. So I've got some that have electrolytes, some that have caffeine, and some that have both, because you definitely might need electrolytes for medical reasons and just to keep yourself hydrated. And then caffeine, probably not going to have coffee. So if you need some caffeine to help keep you going, help keep you awake, ward off a headache, then that will be a good thing to have. Because you want things that don't need to be cooked or heated, you probably don't have a stove in your car if you're just starting with the basics. You don't want to do things like freeze-dried meals, for instance, that need water to be added. It would be appropriate to add an MRE in here, though, or some MREs, because those are complete and ready to eat, and they have their own heater. As you build up your preparedness in your vehicle, you might add something like a small backpacking stove or a sterno stove or something like that. But for now, we're sticking with just food that can be eaten without any cooking. Under here, I've also got a little meal that is a complete meal. It doesn't require heating. It says you can eat it hot or cold, and it actually includes a little spoon in there. So things like this would be okay. The next thing I've got right here are some emergency flares, like emergency signals for the car. You could use a reflective triangle, or you could use something like this. This is a set of 6, I believe, and they are battery operated. You just put batteries in them, and they will put on emergency light for you with lots of different modes. They have a hook right here that will pop out that you could use to hang this from any place that you need to hang it. They also have a magnet right here, so you can stick it on the back of your car, the outside of your car, or anywhere else that a magnet will stick. The next thing you're going to want to have is a flashlight and some batteries. So I've got a flashlight here that is really bright. It has several different levels of brightness. It is focusable. It's not too big, not too small. That's a good thing to have. So this flashlight actually is dual powered, so it can be recharged or it can run on batteries. So I've got the battery pack here. I've got it charged up, and I've got an extra battery pack. Of course, I would put this inside something. I just have it out here to show you. But so flashlight and extra batteries. You can upgrade this if you use a headlamp. A headlamp is a really good choice for something like your car emergency kit, because a headlamp is going to allow you to have your hands free. So if you need to do something like, change a tire or work under the hood, look at something on your car, hook up your jumper cables, anything like that, this is going to allow you to have your hands and have light that you can point exactly where you need it. This is a nice bright headlamp. This is a Coast headlamp, which is a really good brand. But one thing that I especially liked about this is that it has on the back of it, it has an emergency light so that you can be seen. So it would have red lights here that you could put on. And that's really great if you are, changing a tire, looking in your trunk, pulled over in the dark, to make sure that people are going to see you and hopefully you won't get hit. So this is a headlamp that is pretty compact. You can aim the beam where you need to aim the beam. If you need to aim it down, or you can aim it. You can see that this comes together into a nice little package. It's not too bulky, so this is a great thing to store in your car. Another light that I like to keep in my car is this little clip light. It is actually really bright. I'll show you in a minute, but it can clip onto your purse. It can clip onto anywhere you can clip it onto, hang on. But what I like about this one is that this one actually also has a seatbelt cutter, you can see right here. And it has a glass breaker on the end that you can use to break out the window if you're stuck in your car. So this is a really great light to have in your car. It actually also has a magnet, just like the other lights that I showed you, so that you could stick this anywhere on your car. If you're looking under the hood, you could stick this to the hood. You could stick this, under the car, anywhere you need. So you can see it actually also has a couple of screwdriver bits here. But the most exciting part for me is the seatbelt cutter and the glass breaker. The unfortunate thing is that looking for this online, I bought this several years ago. I can find basically the same thing, but the only ones I can find have the seatbelt cutter, but they don't have the glass breaker. They've replaced it with a bottle opener, which is not nearly as, handy in the car in an emergency. But let me show you how bright this one is. This also could be used as like an emergency signal if you needed it, which is another good feature for the car. Off. Let's turn it on one more time. So I will hunt for this a little bit more, and if I can find one with the glass breaker, I will link it down below. If I can't, I'll link the one with the bottle opener, because it's got everything else that this one has, and this is a really handy tool to have. Next on the list is an emergency radio. So this is a regular radio and a NOAA weather radio. So this is a good unit to have, because this is going to be your lifeline to the outside world. If you are in a place that there isn't any cell phone service, or if your cell phone has died or something like that, this is going to be what's going to keep you connected to the outside world. So you're going to get the different radio bands, and you're also going to get the weather alerts and all kinds of alerts. There's more than just weather. There's alerts for radiological disasters and civil emergencies and contaminated water, all sorts of alerts you can get with these. What I love about these Midland units is they have multiple ways to recharge. So this does have USB recharging for a rechargeable battery, but it also has a small solar panel on the top, and then it has a hand crank in the back. Now, these are not going to be very efficient ways to charge it fully, but they will be able to provide a little bit of charge if you're in a dire emergency and your battery has died. So you'll have other options if you don't have a way to recharge it. Besides having the radio and the weather radio, this also has a light. You can see it's not really as bright as the other flashlights that I have, so I wouldn't want it to be my only source of light, but it's nice that it has that feature as an additional feature. I am storing this in the car with the battery turned around backwards so that it just won't waste all the battery power accidentally. But definitely having a small emergency radio in your car is a must. The next thing you're going to want to have in your car is a first aid kit. Now, you can do a pre-made kit that you purchase, or you can put one together yourself. This is a pre-made kit that I keep in my car, a hard side kit. This is from Jump Medic. They are some of the best pre-made first aid kits I have ever seen. They have everything you could possibly think of inside, extras that you wouldn't even think of. They're great kits. This is a small to medium size kit. So you can do bigger kits, you can do smaller kits, just kind of depending on what you think you and your family need. I have made kits in tackle boxes before that works really well for the car. Keeps things nicely organized. But this is my current car kit. Another thing I always keep in my car is my trauma kit. This is just kind of a more in-depth kit for more severe emergencies. It's got everything laid out here. I do have a video on how I put this together. I'll link that down below in case anybody wants to see that. But this is something that I think is good to have in your car if you do have a trauma kit, because you never know when you might come across a bad car accident or something else that requires these tools. So a first aid kit, whatever that means to you, whatever works for your needs, have a first aid kit of some sort in your car. Next, you're going to want to have blankets and warm clothing for every person in your family. So this is a fleece blanket that I always keep with me, and I actually use this blanket a lot, you know, to keep warm at ball games and ball fields late at night, or any time that it happens to be colder than I expected and I just want a blanket. This gets used. So it's always good to have a blanket in your car. This is just a full-size fleece blanket, works great, and it would work great in an emergency to keep me warm. Another thing that I recommend having is one of these emergency sleeping bags. So these are kind of like the emergency blankets. They're made with that Mylar material that's going to reflect your body heat. So it's not going to be soft and cozy like a blanket, but it's going to keep you alive and it's going to keep you from freezing to death. And the thing about these is they take up so little space. This is better than an emergency blanket because you can get inside of it. So you don't have to worry about trying to keep it wrapped around yourself. This particular one right here is pretty big. It's 7 feet tall and I think 3 feet wide. So it's going to fit most people. You can get right inside of it and it's going to really help maintain your body heat. And with the size of it, you can keep one of these for every person who might ride in your car. You can have one for every seat. You can see, you know, the difference between a blanket and a small emergency sleeping bag. So this is a really good thing to have as well, along these same lines. And then this is a pack that I have got some emergency clothes in for myself. Now, what I keep for myself is I keep a shirt and a pair of leggings and a fleece zip up, just a simple light fleece zip up with pockets. And I do them all in black because this can mix and match with anything else I might have on. Now you might wonder, why would I care if it's an emergency and I'm stranded somewhere? Why would I care? And in those cases I wouldn't, but there's lots of other times that I might use these clothes that I have in my car. Maybe I spilled something on myself or fell in a mud puddle or something like that. So it's nice to have pieces that can mix and match with anything else that I have. So I've got my shirt and my leggings are kind of all folded together here in one bundle. And then I've got my fleece. And then of course I've got socks. You always want to have extra socks. So I've got 2 pairs of socks in here. And you can also add some hand and foot warmers, because remember, this really is about, you know, keeping warm if you're stranded during a winter emergency is what you're really worried about. No matter where you live, keep in mind that it can happen. Even places people wouldn't expect, cold temperatures and ice storms, it does happen. Our weather patterns are getting wild. So be prepared no matter what. If it is hot and you need to keep cool, there's other things you can do, and you can cut the arms and legs off of the shirt and the pants if you need to, but you want to have stuff to keep you warm, and you want to have stuff to keep your feet dry and comfortable, especially if you end up having to walk. Which reminds me, another thing that I usually keep in my car that's sort of along these lines is a pair of hiking boots, just because I am typically wearing sandals or flip-flops or maybe, fancy high-heeled boots. I'm not usually wearing practical shoes. I'm just not a practical shoe person. So if I ended up having to hike out of somewhere, walk home, anything like that, I want to make sure I have comfortable shoes. And you never know when it might come in handy to have comfortable shoes. So warm clothes, a blanket, emergency sleeping bag, things like this to keep you from freezing to death if your car breaks down during the winter and you're stuck somewhere. Number 7 on the list is going to be jumper cables. Everyone should have jumper cables in their car. I have this set that comes in a bag so it stays all contained. I just like to have them contained. I actually looked for a pair of retractable jumper cables. I could not find retractable, but I think that would be amazing. I don't know if they make such a thing, but if you've ever seen that, let me know down in the comments. Now, I got a pretty long set. You need to think about the gauge and the length and things like that to make sure that it's going to suit your needs and be able to be used in the most amount of situations. But don't leave it up to somebody else to have the jumper cables. Have your own jumper cables, so if somebody comes by, you can get a jump if you need it. Don't rely on somebody else for the jumper cables, and even better, do not rely on somebody else at all. If you can have a battery jump starter in your car that doesn't rely on another vehicle, that's the best. I don't want to have to wait for somebody to come along. I don't want my daughters to have to flag down some stranger on the side of the road or in a parking lot. So we all carry these Halo Bolt Air. This is actually a Halo Ultimate, so I think it's kind of new. So it comes with a small set of jumper cables that plugs right into the unit, and you can use this to jump start your own car without needing anybody else, which is fantastic. This one also comes with something. It's able to fill up your tires. It's able to add air to your tires, so it has an air compressor built in. And then, of course, it's also a large battery pack. So it's got some spaces you can use to charge for USB-A and USB-C. It's also got, this is why it's the Ultra, I believe. It's got the AC plug here that you can use for a laptop or anything else that you need to charge. So I would say, in addition to having jumper cables, definitely something like this is a big, big plus, because I don't want to rely on strangers to be able to get my car going when I need it. The next thing you want to make sure you have, number 8 of the must-have items for your car, is going to be something for a flat tire. So I've got a can of Fix-A-Flat here. This is something you definitely want to have if you just have a little, flat tire or that you need to fix to get back on the road and get home or get to a safe spot. You want to have something like this. Now, of course, this can work in conjunction with the battery charger that also has the air compressor. So you can get your car back on the road if you have a flat tire. So this is definitely something that you want to have. Number 9 is going to be a folding shovel and maybe some sand or some kitty litter. So this is a shovel that folds up into a packet about the size of a book. Of course, you can open it up and it makes a little shovel. So if you are stuck and you need to get yourself unstuck, or plenty of other reasons that you might need a shovel. And you could have sand or kitty litter in your car as well for if you're stuck in the mud or the ice or the snow. But here's the trick. If you can't or don't have sand or kitty litter in your car, you can actually use the floor mats from your car to help get yourself out from being stuck in a muddy or icy or slippery situation. So you can take the car mats, the floor mats right out of your car, and flip them over usually and kind of get them down under the tires so that the tires have something to grip onto. And that can be something that can work for you that you already have in your car without having to carry something else in your car. Because depending on how big your vehicle is, you might have to make modifications to some of this gear and, make it something that's going to fit your car and your lifestyle. And the final item that you should always have in your car is a battery pack for your phone, a phone battery charger. Now, yes, you could use the Halo, the jump starter pack, to charge your phone, but it's much better to have something small, portable, and dedicated that you can have right up in the front seat with you. You don't have to go dig it out, and you can leave that jump starter charged for if you need it for actually jump starting your car or inflating your tires. Besides, this has cables built right into it for every type of phone. You can see it's got an iPhone end right here, and then it's got the USB C and micro USB ends over here. So no matter what type of device you need to charge, you can use this for it. So you could charge your lights with it. You could charge your radio with it to some degree. I get about 2 full charges for my phone off of 1 charge in this battery pack. So these are great to have, because keep in mind that your cell phone is one of your most important tools. So that's something that we didn't even have to list here, because most of us always have our cell phone with us. And that is the ultimate tool that you need to have when you're in your car, because it has communication, it has navigation, it has tracking if you do get lost and your loved ones need to try to find you. There's a lot of different tools that are in your phone, so you want to make sure that that is always working. So a battery pack like this is a great thing to have in your car. One last thing I do want to mention about your car emergency gear, and that is that you want to make sure it's secured in your car somehow. Now, some things you're going to want to have right up close to you in the front seat. So you like your light, for instance, your battery charger for your phone. But some of this stuff you're going to probably be storing away. So if your car has a trunk and it's going to be shut in the trunk, that's a great place for it. But if your car is more open, like my car is, then you have to make sure that these things are secured, because if you're in an accident, these things would all become projectiles, and you definitely don't want to be hit in the head with a hard side first aid kit or a emergency shovel or any of this stuff, a gallon of water. So you want to make sure that this is all secured somehow. So my car has this compartment with a thing that shuts down over it. And so this is going to mean that all of this stuff is shut away and it's not going to be flying around in an accident. You probably have things like this in your car that you could use tie downs, bungees, things like that to secure the items in your car, or different pockets like this, like I have in my car. So do think about that when you are putting your emergency gear in your car, and make sure that it's safely contained and safe, not going to become a projectile in an accident. These 10 items are not the only preparedness items that you can or should have in your vehicle, but they're a good start. Whether you're just starting out with your vehicle emergency kit, or maybe you've got some of these items, but you still have a ways to go, or you have a new driver in your home and you want to make sure that they're safe and prepared when they're out on the road. Use this list as a checkup for all your vehicles. Get the basics covered and then add from there for the ultimate on-the-road preparedness. Let me know down in the comments how you're doing with your vehicle preparedness. Do you have all these basics covered? And if you're ultra prepared, what are the most important items that you would add to this list? Another important thing in a well-prepared vehicle is a get-home bag. I have a video sharing exactly what I have in my get-home bag and why. I'm going to put it right up here on the screen at the end of this video for you to watch next. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, leave me a vehicle emoji down in the comments and check out the get home bag video next. I'm Jara with Wicked Prepared. Survive today, thrive tomorrow. We'll see you next time.